Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that recently visited the grassy knoll. Speaking of crime scenes, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at a game all about an evil murderer trying to stalk kids at a summer camp. I am, of course, talking about Last Friday from Ares Games. In Last Friday from Ares Games, one player is going to take on the role of the evil maniac stalking his victims, while 1 to 5 other people will attempt to essentially play these campers that are, of course, trying to do some different things over the course of these game rounds to the maniac, either hide from him or try to kill him. All sorts of kooky things. Now, the game board is a map of the camp. In addition to the different buildings, of course, you also have kind of a lake in the center, and then critically, you have the trails. Now, if you're familiar with the Letters from Whitechapel, the map looks very similar here. You've got the spaces, the numbered spaces, where the maniac is going to move along, and then, of course, you have kind of the little areas in between them where the campers are going to move along on their turns. Now, just like in Letters from Whitechapel, the maniac will have kind of a player screen with a map on the back for his own reference, so he can go ahead and look at the various places. He can go without giving his position away by looking at the map. He'll also have a little part of the shield that'll fold over. You put a piece of paper under that, and you write in there where exactly the maniac is going to be from time to time by writing the numbers that correspond to the spaces on the board. Now, you're also going to place out at the beginning of the game a number of kind of beginning tokens that are going to have some various things on it. And then as the game goes forward, also you're going to have some various other tokens that are going to appear on the board as well. Players are going to be assigned a color. There's no real player elimination, so players are going to, if they're killed, they're going to be able to come back in the next chapter with another camper of that color. Now, on the campers' cards, they, of course, have different spaces for different tokens. They can carry one of each token, and they kind of have, start with one that's already on their card there. But these things are traps they can use to try to trap the killer. Lanterns they can use to try to illuminate the path so that if the killer goes through it, he kind of has to give him information about where he is. You've also got shovels that you can use to bury bodies, and that's going to be important as well. As I say, the game takes place over 4 chapters, and different things happen in the different 4 chapters. In the first chapter, of course, the killer is trying to kill his prey. Now, he's essentially trying to move through a space where one of the campers is. In that case, the camper dies. You put a body token there. You've got a body on the board. Now, during the second chapter, the campers, it's the next day, the campers are trying to find the killer. So now they are out actually trying to hunt for the killer, and the killer must evade them for that particular chapter. Now, in Chapter 3, one of the players will become a character called the Predestined. Now, the Predestined is a character that essentially can kill the maniac, but he's vulnerable during round 3. In fact, the other campers are trying to protect the Predestined. If they don't, if the maniac kills the Predestined, game over. So they're trying to protect him. They can try to block his way. They can try to lay some of these traps. They can sacrifice themselves if they have to. But critically, you're trying to keep the Predestined safe from the killer during that chapter. Now, in Chapter 4, again, the maniac is hiding. The other campers are attempting to block, to maneuver him into certain areas, because the Predestined is the only one that can kill him there. Again, he's trying to move over the spot where the killer is. If he can do that, then of course the killer dies, and the campers win. If, however, the maniac is able to evade that on the last chapter, then the maniac will win Last Friday. Now that is just a very, very brief overview of this game. There's a lot of other things going on. For instance, as I say, you can bury the bodies for every body that the camper kills that isn't buried. He's going to be able to get some special abilities, some special tokens that will help him, just as the campers get special tokens as well. So there's, like I said, there's a lot more going on there. That's just a very, very basic overview of the game. Now, if you are familiar, of course, with the channel here on the Discriminating Gamer, you know I'm a huge fan of hidden movement games. I love them. Fury of Dracula is probably my favorite hidden movement game. That's my, consistently in my top 10 of games of all time. Really enjoy Letters from Whitechapel, and the new Whitehall mystery that came out is also a lot of fun. I really like that one as well. And of course, even Scotland Yard I enjoy. I never played the Spectre Ops. That's one I always wanted to play, but I never got a chance to play it. But that's once on my list to play. I really, really enjoy the mechanic. It's just so much fun, an all-in-one game. But you're trying to hunt somebody, or you're trying to evade being hunted and kill other people. It's just a fun mechanic that I really enjoy. So I was really looking forward to last Friday because, of course, it kind of takes that hidden movement mechanic and it kind of turns it on its end. You've got the one who is not being hunted, at least not initially, but he is the one that is the hunter, and then it kind of goes back and forth. So you kind of get that traditional feeling you get from a Letters from Whitechapel, but then of course something different, which is the killer being the person who's hiding doing the killing, which is very, very cool as well. This game succeeds in creating the tension that I love from those games. I do really enjoy the tension here in Last Friday. It's generally good every chapter. The problem is all these chapters, the game as a whole can be a bit longer. It kind of, toward the end, kind of wears out its welcome a little bit. But critically, too, one of the big problems here is because you're kind of switching gears with each of those chapters, you kind of feel like you're making progress, and then there's an abrupt halt. And then you got to start all over again, and there's an abrupt halt. With like Letters from Whitechapel, you do have those different nights, but you feel like you're making continuous progress on each of the nights. You're kind of narrowing it down on where the hideout is, because that remains consistent during all of the nights. So that is kind of disappointing because it kind of feels like you're building this momentum, and then it kind of just stops, and then you start over again with this new dynamic, and then it stops. So it almost feels like you're playing different games that aren't really connected. And each one's good, and you can play each of these as a scenario too. You do have that option. But again, if you play the game all the way through, it just there's that interruption there. Like I said, there's some nice touches in this game. I like the tokens. I like how they work and the advantages they give you. You got the neat thing with the different buildings where, if you find the right key to go into the right building, if the campers do, they can place like the tile down on one side, but if the bad guy breaks into one of the buildings, it comes down on the other side. And there's different advantages and disadvantages that go along with those things. I like that as well. So there's good stuff here, but I'm just, like I say, it's hard to get past that kind of it kind of dragged the momentum down a little bit. And if you do play the game of scenarios, I'd almost rather play, Whitehall Mystery or something like that. I think Fury of Dracula is in the class by itself because that's more than just the hidden movement aspect. There's some actual combat that takes place. Whereas in some of these other games like Last Friday, it's pretty much just about discovering where the person is, which is great. Here, it's good. It just doesn't quite get it to where I needed it to be. This is not a bad game, but it's just not my favorite, the base game as it is. Now, I do have the expansion that I'm hoping to get to at some point. We'll see what that does. That adds in a different, a second killer, the demon. We'll take a look at that, see how that works. But for right now, the base game, I'm just going to say try it before you buy it. I think it's fun, but I think there are better hidden movement games out there. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if Last Friday doesn't kill you, next Monday certainly will. Mondays, Yeah,
Somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where